Hello, everybody. Here we have Paolo Bertolotti, CEO and COO of IVAR. He's telling us about his adoption of the demand-driven material required planning. He is the CEO and COO of IVAR Corporation, a family company, where he started to work in 2000, growing the operation position, taking the plant responsibility. Then in 2018, he was one of the supporters of the adoption of demand-driven material required planning. Paolo, please present us the IVAR and your successful adoption project.
Okay, thank you, Paolo. Hi, everybody. So I would like to present my company with, I will ask a little video to help me. So if I can go, I will share this.
Interesting products, really.
So that was IVAR. This here you can see our product lines that goes from radiator valves to underfloor systems, fittings, and so on. On the right side, you can see an explosion of one of our product family, which are the manifolds. This was the pilot project that we made while we were introducing the DDMRP in our company. So we started in 2018 from this situation in IVAR. So we had a very low service level through our customers. Our OTIF was less than 50% in average, and we had a very, very high inventory. Just to have a rough idea, it was almost the half of the value of the turnover. Knowing this situation, I had a meeting with Mr. Ivan Lavantelli from PwC Italy, and he would like to introduce me the DDMRP methodology, and that I didn't know at all. And after a couple of hours of presentation and discussion, my first question was, yes, but what's the problem in doing that? Because it looked theoretically too easy to be working. The only bad part we could find was that theoretically there was not bad parts, but that we would be the first one in Italy to do that. So after some discussion and so on, we decided to start with the project. And this is the first picture, and you can see here we are all smiling because that was just the first day of this journey. Then we had some trouble and struggling during the path, but then at the end we are very, very satisfied. What we learned since the beginning is that we need a lot of training, but also a lot of inclusion of all the people involved and not in the project. So here, for example, you can see our head of planning, our head of IT, our CFO, myself, obviously, Mr. Ivan Lavatelli, who was our trainer as well, other trainees, people like other planners and manager of the various stages in our production. In my hand, you can see the product that I showed you before, and there is a white paper in our hands, which was the analysis of the process of this article. Our path was, first of all, an analysis. So we had to analyze all our process and divide it into sub-processes, because we had to place our buffer, and we have to strategically position on them where we have some decoupling points. That means that the entire process, entire internal supply chain is divided in smaller parts, which is much better because could be monitored much more effectively. And for example, for a planner, while after the system is running, his goal is only to take care of fulfill the next buffer. That's it. You don't have to take care of customer orders or supply orders and so on. You have to your goal is to fulfill the next buffer. So we divided our processes in 3 main phases, which is the primary process, that means tooling, then assembling, and packaging. The buffer, the size of the buffer, there is a formula to calculate it, but what the very, very important is that then the size of the buffer is automatically adjusted daily. So the ADU, that means average daily usage, is what drives all the parameters in the DDMRP system. That means the real consumption, so the real demand, is influencing every day the single buffers on the supply chain. We are working since 2018 with historical data. So the previous 4th month are the base for the ADU. In this month, we are working on a blended solution that makes the forecast with the historical data. The system also, having the visibility of all the steps with this buffer, allows you to set the parameters to also force this ADU. For example, last year, 1 year ago, we have been closed for 5 weeks. So after the lockdown, we have to reopen, and we work obviously a lot to fulfill our orders to our customers. But then after the summer, we had the problem that we had too many demand in the past. That was not real, obviously. So we could adjust the percentage of the ADU due to let it come back to the original position. So in September, we made 40% less, then 30%, 20, 10%. So at the end of the year, it was again self-adjusting. For example, beginning this year, we have a very big demand, and the system is rapidly adjusting. So the buffer are sizing due to the high demand we are facing now. The buffering positioning has been made after the analysis of our customer tolerance lead time first, and also what was the decoupling point in our processes. This is very important because having a lot of communities in the articles, in the use of the articles, we have to take data from all various parts of the sales and consumption. But the software helps a lot. Till now, it's 2 years that we are working with this DDMRP system, and step by step we see that the performance are increasing every day. For example, after a couple of years, I can let you know that our inventory reduced by 1/5. That is very, very important for us, because that means that you are producing only what you are going to sell. That's very, very important. And also the customer level at the same time, that is in contrast normally with the reduction of the inventory, went up and up and up, and obviously we had a break during the last lockdown, but then immediately could come back again to an average of more than 90% of OTIF, which is very high standard for our business. Our initial goal was to have an OTIF of at least 80%, but we could go over it, and we are very happy with that. So what we learned during this this path, we learned that we have to have a strong commitment from the executives, so from the CEO, but also the responsible of every functions in the company has to be involved from the beginning, because this has a big impact on their own business, daily business, and that we need a lot of training. So it's better to plan a training, let's say, courses before starting, and to be sure that everybody, even if it's not directly involved in the process, but also if they are indirectly involved, it's very important to let them know why you are doing this kind of choices. What we also achieved, that we update all our planning parameters, and then that we have a best practice, so everybody has a common idea how to work, that so doesn't exist anymore the individual interpretation of some data, but everybody is working with the same parameters, because they are all clear, and you can see immediately, looking at the buffer, where is the problem, if there is one, or which is the amount of the orders, and so on. And we also think that we had made a big step in our in understanding much better our supply chain. And if we look back now, we ask sometimes how we could handle of this kind of mess of data we had before. So for us, it was a very good experience, but it's never ending. So our next processes are these two. So in we are going to enlarge the scope of the DDMRP to other plants, starting from the subsidiaries, which are sales company. So going closer to the final market, we think we can be more effective on sizing the buffer, and so reduce on all our supply chain, including the transfer order to our daughter's company, and be more effective in planning, and to reduce the total amount of stock, because having the real data from the end market, our processes can be more easy and fast to react. The second one is to adapt a DDMRP DDMRP software, scheduling software. So following the same principle and the same rules we have on the ERP, we think we could improve the performance also in scheduling. So being more effective, more faster, and to have much more reaction on what is changing daily, because the daily consumption is our God, let's say. So we have to follow as much as possible this information. So that was all for me. I hope it was. I remain at your disposal if you have any question or whatever, and thank you very much for your attention.
Paolo, I would like to make you a question, just because I'm so interested in your experience. You have adopted a new methodology, a little bit scary. I would say nobody knows about this. You have to develop your own competence. You underlined that training was very important. Could you tell us something more about this experience? Because looking at other people thinking of starting this kind of journey, they could be too scared about I don't have people with this knowledge. I have to train. It's difficult. It will be tough to understand how to use these new technologies, new tools. Please give us some more in-depth view on this.
Yes, because we think we are an innovative company on the product side. I think we cannot not be innovative also in our processes and the way we plan our processes. So looking back, maybe we were too. We did it in a rush, but because, as I told you before, we have a lot of common pieces through our family lines. At the beginning, we were thinking of just adopt the system just for a product family, but then we close the eyes and we say, okay, we go all in, and this is a big mountain to climb at the beginning, but then if everybody is well trained and is convinced that it is the right solution, more or less convinced, let's say, and the commitment is very, very strong, you can go on. If you stop, we see that in some cases we sit down and say, okay, are we going to come back? You cannot have doubts about it, otherwise you are lost, because you are in the middle of the sea with no coast around you. So, but what, again, I repeat myself, what was very, very important, and we are still doing that, is training. So to have trained people who can understand why you are doing something or you are changing completely your way of working is fundamental, in my opinion.
So it means that having, however, knowledge people already accustomed to work properly in a standard way using MRP, classical MRP, is just retraining on these new tools. Then it's easy to change the mind and start working a different way, successful new way of working. Thanks.
I won't say easy. I won't say easy,
no.
But it's hard anyway, because after 30 years you're used to work in a certain way. Nothing is easy, but at the end it pays, because our performances are really beyond our expectation.
Good. Let's listen to other questions from the audience. Thank you, Paolo.
Thank you very much.